The night cleaning shift at Castellanos pays well above average. High-end Italian restaurant, James Beard winner, reservations months in advance. Everything has to be perfect for the next day's service. That's what the manager told me when I started. What he didn't mention was why they couldn't keep cleaners more than a few months. I took the job 3 months ago. Midnight to 6 a.m. Just me and the security cameras. Clean the dining room, polish silver, prep the kitchen for morning staff. First few weeks were normal. Then I started noticing things that didn't fit. The kitchen was never quite how I'd left it the night before. Small things at first. Moved equipment, different cleaning supplies in places I hadn't put them. Signs someone had been cooking after I left. Manager said it was probably prep cooks coming in early, but prep doesn't start until 7. Security cameras showed nothing, just static during certain hours. IT guy said it was power fluctuations, but it always happened the same time each week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, between 3 and 5 a.m. Then I found the ledger, hidden behind a loose panel in the dry storage room. Names, dates, prices. Nothing about food. The amounts were too high, some entries marked with red X's. I took photos before putting it back. Next night, ledger was gone, but there was blood on the prep station floor. Just a few drops, could have been from meat prep. Except it was fresh, and the meat delivery doesn't come until morning. I started paying attention to patterns. Black SUVs in the back alley every Tuesday and Thursday, around 3 a.m. People entering through the kitchen door. Not staff, different people each time. Always left before 5. Next morning, everything would look normal, except for small details. Last week, I found zip ties under the prep station. Week before that, phone with no battery. Sometimes I'd hear noises from the walk-in freezer during my shift. Manager said it was the compressor, but compressors don't make sounds like people crying. 2 previous cleaners quit suddenly. No notice, no forwarding address. Their employee files are gone too, like they never worked here. Current prep cook says the one before him asked too many questions about the late-night deliveries. Haven't seen that prep cook since. Last night, I arrived early. Hid in the dry storage room. Black SUVs showed up right on schedule. 6 men, 2 carrying someone. Took them to the private dining room. I could hear everything through the vent. They were asking about money, about missing product. Other voice kept saying he'd pay. Then sounds I try to forget. When they left, dining room was spotless, like nothing happened. But I found teeth marks on the wooden chair arms. Called police anonymously. They raided the place today. Found the hidden room behind the wine cellar. Tools, records, things for hurting people. Manager's gone, disappeared last night. Left his car in the lot, keys still in office. Restaurants closed indefinitely. Health department's involved now, but not for food violations. They're searching the grease traps, the drainage systems, looking for evidence of what happened on those early mornings. FBI interviewed everyone. Said the restaurant was part of something bigger. High-end places all over the city, used for private meetings. Places where screams blend in with kitchen noise, where missing people become missing paperwork. I quit last week. Found cleaning work at a small cafe instead. Pays worse, but at least I know what happens after hours. Still drive past Castellanos sometimes. Black SUVs still park there late at night. Different restaurant now, different name, but same business. Because some restaurants serve more than food. Some reservations aren't about dinner. And sometimes the night cleaner sees things they can't unsee, hears things they can't unhear. Local news says 4 more restaurant workers disappeared last month. All high-end places, all late-night staff. Police are investigating, but I know they won't find much. Places like that know how to clean up after themselves. I kept copies of the photos I took, hidden them where they won't be found. Because sometimes evidence disappears. Sometimes people disappear. But memories don't. And some stains don't come out, no matter how hard you scrub. You know how chain restaurants are supposed to have strict procedures for everything? That's what drew my attention first. 4 years doing prep work in different kitchens, and you learn how things are supposed to run. Every delivery has its schedule. Every box has its paperwork. Every item gets logged. I'd been at this place about 6 months when things started feeling off. It's one of those big chain restaurants, the kind you find in every shopping center. Started as a temp position, but the pay was decent, and the hours worked for my schedule. Morning prep, inventory counts, basic kitchen work. Nothing complicated. First couple months were normal. Produce deliveries Monday and Thursday mornings. Dry goods on Wednesdays. Meat twice a week from our regular supplier. Everything tagged, everything tracked. Corporate restaurants are serious about their systems. Then I started noticing the numbers didn't add up. Small things at first. Inventory counts not matching our sales. Extra boxes appearing in the walk-in that weren't on any manifest. Easy to write off as paperwork errors. Restaurants deal with that all the time, right? When I mentioned it to my supervisor, he brushed it off. Said corporate was testing new suppliers, trying different products. Makes sense. Big chains do that sometimes. Except none of these extra deliveries had proper labels. No lot numbers, no inspection stamps, nothing you're supposed to have. Just dates written in marker. Should have paid more attention when the previous prep cook left. Middle of their shift, just walked out. Never came back for their final check. Left everything in their locker, including a notepad full of delivery times and weights that didn't match our records. Looking back, maybe they spotted something they shouldn't have. Started keeping track after that. The extra deliveries always came late, random times after midnight. Different truck each time, no company names or logos. They'd stack everything in this one corner of the walk-in, behind the regular stock. By morning, those boxes would be gone, replaced by normal inventory. The weird part was how organized it seemed. Like everyone knew about it, but nobody talked about it. Kitchen staff would clear out early on delivery nights. Cameras in the loading area would be down for maintenance. Security guards would take their breaks at exactly the right times. Worked late one night to finish monthly inventory. Wasn't supposed to be there when the truck came. Caught them unloading. Boxes were leaking something on the floor. Didn't smell right, didn't look right. Not like any meat delivery I'd seen before. Driver saw me watching, made a phone call. Within an hour, someone showed up claiming to be a health inspector. Said we had violations, needed emergency cleaning. Next day, called the actual health department. They had no record of any inspection, but they were interested. Turns out other locations in the area had similar late-night deliveries, all followed by surprise inspections that weren't logged anywhere. That's when corporate suddenly decided our location needed renovation. Transferred most of the staff to other restaurants, but they offered me a crazy raise to stay. Handle what they called special inventory. Said I had the right attention to detail, knew how to keep records properly. I quit instead. The whole thing felt wrong. Not just the deliveries, the way everyone acted like it was normal. How staff who asked questions disappeared to other locations. How certain inventory just vanished from the system. Police are investigating now. Testing samples from multiple locations. Checking employee records. Corporate lawyers say everything's approved, everything's legal. But they can't explain the missing paperwork, the fake inspections, the weird delivery patterns. I took photos of my inventory logs before I left. Kept copies of delivery times, weights, dates, because evidence has a way of disappearing in places like that. People have a way of disappearing too. Working at a small, independent place now. Pay's not as good, but at least I know where our supplies come from. Know what's really coming through that loading dock. Some nights, driving home late, I see those unmarked trucks backing up to other chain restaurants. Makes me wonder what's really going on in those kitchens after hours. The health department shut down 3 locations last month. Same pattern. Late deliveries, missing records, staff transfers. They're testing everything now, tracking every supplier. But those trucks are still out there, still making deliveries somewhere. Makes you think twice about chain restaurants, about what happens in those kitchens late at night. What's really in those unmarked boxes? Why some employees suddenly transfer? Why some never come back at all? I still have that prep cook's notepad. Found it in their locker after they left. Last entry mentions one final delivery they wanted to check. Said they finally figured out where the boxes were coming from. That was the night they disappeared. Sometimes I think about calling the police, telling them everything. But what would I say? That a chain restaurant had weird deliveries? That inventory numbers didn't match? That people who asked questions disappeared to other locations? Sounds crazy when you say it out loud. But I know what I saw. Know what those boxes smelled like. What leaked onto the floor that night. Know why I keep cooking at home now. Why I check the source of everything I eat. Because some kitchens prep more than food. Some deliveries carry more than supplies. And sometimes, the real cost of running a restaurant isn't on any invoice. I still get calls from corporate sometimes, offering better positions, better pay, saying I have the right experience, the right attitude. I never answer. Some jobs aren't worth the paycheck. Some things you're better off not knowing. But every time I drive past a chain restaurant late at night, I watch their loading docks. Sometimes see those trucks backing up. No logos, no labels. Makes me glad I quit when I did. Because some secrets should stay hidden in those walk-in coolers. Behind those boxes with no inspection stamps, no lot numbers. Just dates written in marker. Counting down to something I never want to know about. Private dining. You wouldn't think an upscale restaurant would be the perfect place for interrogations. But after 6 years serving in the private dining room, I understand why. Music covers the sounds. Kitchen noise masks everything else. And if someone disappears during dinner, well, people leave restaurants early all the time. I started working there because the tips were good. Fine dining, white tablecloths, $200 tasting menus, the kind of place where wealthy people close business deals. The private dining room was always booked, especially on weeknights. Corporate events, they said. Started noticing patterns after about a year. Same group would book the room, different names each time. Always paid cash, always requested minimal service. Just leave everything and we'll call if needed. They'd arrive separately, never through the main entrance. The room's perfect for their needs. Thick walls from the old building. Private entrance through the wine cellar. Sound system that can be turned up just enough. Even has its own ventilation. Smells from the kitchen don't reach the main dining room. First time I realized something was wrong, I was grabbing wine from the cellar. Heard sounds from the private room above. Not dinner conversation. Someone crying, begging. Another voice asking about money, about names. I dropped a bottle. Noise stopped immediately. Next day, manager called me in. Said I'd be handling all private dining service from now on. Significant pay raise, but specific instructions. Don't enter without knocking. Don't acknowledge guests outside the restaurant. Don't discuss bookings with other staff. The patterns got clearer. Groups of 3 or 4 would arrive first, then someone else, usually looking nervous. Sometimes they'd all leave together. Sometimes the nervous one wouldn't leave at all. They'd exit through the wine cellar, where a service door leads to the back alley. Started noticing other things too. Scratches on the custom chairs. Stains that needed special cleaning. Private rooms' tablecloths would disappear after certain bookings, replaced with new ones. Once found a tooth under the table during cleanup. Called police anonymously after a particularly bad night. Screaming had been louder than usual. They did a cursory check, found nothing. Manager showed them paperwork. Everything legal, everything logged. But I saw him sliding an envelope to one officer before they left. Other staff pretend not to notice. Better tips in the private room mean better tips for everyone. Kitchen staff turn up their music during certain bookings. Valets know which cars to park in back, hidden from street view. Last week was the worst. Group came in with someone I recognized. Local business owner who'd been in the news. Investment scheme gone wrong. Next morning, news reported him missing. Said he was last seen entering our restaurant. Police came again, different officers this time. Actually searched the place. Found something in the wine cellar that got the whole place shut down. Crime scene tape up for days. They're calling it a possible homicide location. Restaurant's reopening under new management next month. They're renovating the private dining room, installing security cameras. But I've seen the new manager meeting with the same people who used to book the room. Some businesses never really change owners, just appearance. I quit yesterday. Found work at a casual place across town. Tips are worse, but at least I don't have to pretend not to hear things. Don't have to wonder if that stain on the tablecloth is wine or something else. Sometimes drive past my old restaurant late at night. Still see cars parked in back. People using the wine cellar entrance. Different restaurant name, same business happening inside. Because some private dining rooms serve more than food. Some reservations aren't about dinner. And the missing businessman's family is still looking for answers. Police investigation is ongoing, but I know they won't find much. Places like that know how to clean up after themselves. Know how to make things disappear. I kept records of every private booking. Dates, times, faces I recognized. Hidden where they won't find it. Because sometimes people disappear after dinner. Sometimes private dining rooms have secrets that need to be told. 3 more restaurants in the city have similar private rooms now. Same setup, same soundproofing, same private entrances. Makes you wonder what's on their secret menu. What kind of business really happens behind those closed doors? I still get calls about private events. Better pay, better hours, but some tips aren't worth the price. Some rooms should stay empty, and some dinners should never be served.